I wonder if you hear a lot, like I hear a lot in these internet streets, about emotional self regulation, about being dysregulated, having a dysregulated nervous system. Like there's all of this language that I feel like is out here, but I'm not sure if we're all on the same page as to what it actually means. And it would be helpful to have a deeper understanding. So that's what I'm doing in today's episode. I'm talking about what does it really look like in real life to be dysregulated with your nervous system. And I'm giving you a couple of my favorite things that you can do that I think are powerful ways to become more grounded and more regulated. I don't know if it's unprecedented, but it's pretty unprecedented what we're living through, especially in the United States right now. But that also impacts the rest of the world as well. And so trying to stay informed and not lose your mind can be difficult. It's like a combo platter. All right, let's move it on into today's episode. So regulation and self-soothing, that's basically what we're focusing on today. But I want to start with, what does it mean to be dysregulated? Because I think that a deeper understanding of that can be really helpful before we get into solutions. So what is a dysregulated nervous system? Well, this occurs when the body's stress response system, so that's the sympathetic or the parasympathetic nervous system, falls out of balance. It gets like stuck. So it leaves the body either perpetually on like this state of high alert, which is like fight or flight, or sort of a chronic shutdown, which is like freeze or hypo-arousal, right? You have hyper-arousal or too much, hypo-arousal, where it's sort of like withdrawn and sort of just shut down. Either one of these extremes, right, leaves you in a state that you cannot really return to this state of calm, safe, regulated state. So this can cause chronic physical and emotional and cognitive symptoms, even in the absence of real danger, right? So this is the thing, that this alert system that we're so lucky to have, right, that is just built into us being human beings. But it was really built a long, long time ago. And the danger was different then. So what happens is we may feel mortally threatened now, or really threatened around something that is actually not threatening your life, but your body hasn't gotten the memo. It is still reacting. So let's talk about some of the dysregulated nervous system key characteristics. Like, what does it look like? Physiological imbalance. That's the first one, where for many of you I know, because we talk, that this hypervigilance is something. Your nervous system feels like it's in overdrive. It's like you can't relax. Or, as I said before, the shutdown. So it could create chronic pain. Like, a lot of people don't know that there is such a this is a physiological experience. Fatigue, digestive issues, headaches, insomnia, muscle tension. Like, there's all these things that can go along with it physically. And then you have emotional and behavioral symptoms or signs that you are dysregulated. So it could be the heightened anxiety, it could be depression, it could be hopelessness, it could be emotional instability, it could be panic. And here's why I feel like this is a very timely topic for this episode, is that we're also living in a time when there is so much unknown happening. Even the regular things that we could normally count on have been changing. So I feel like being in a heightened state of anxiety, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, makes sense. But if you can't get out of it, this is when you know you're dysregulated. So it doesn't mean we're not going to have big feelings about big messed up stuff that's happening. We are. If you can't get out of that hyper or hypo-arousal, that's the problem. It also comes along with cognitive issues. So what does that look like? Memory problems, difficulty concentrating, brain fog. That's one of the ones that I experience the most when I am dysregulated, and overthinking. I actually got my brain scanned. Some of you know that. I did Dr. Amen's show, Scan My Brain. He had an Instagram show. Anyway, went out to California, had my brain scanned. And he literally said, it's the busiest brain he's ever seen. I was like, wow. And he's done, 100,000 brain scans, 200,000 brain scans. Anyway, that's what I'm dealing with. I don't know what you're dealing with. But having brain fog when you have a brain that is that busy is really scary. It's hard to work. And the overthinking, those are the cognitive issues. Then you have, it's sort of like an amplified reaction to things. So where you feel rageful, it's almost like you feel like you want to throw a tantrum, where you are throwing a tantrum, or you're underreacting, detaching, shutting down to situations. So this is just to establish a working understanding of what it looks like when your nervous system is dysregulated. And then let's move into the truth that we all get dysregulated, right? Because this is a part of the human condition. So it's not like, oh, something's wrong with you. We just don't want to be stuck there. The skills I'm going to give you today, and probably ones you've been working on yourself, are so that you can get back to being balanced. We're talking about tools for finding your calm, kind of getting back to center. So self-soothing, which is what you can do for yourself, and then co-regulation, how the people you love and the people who love you, how you can help each other co-regulate. Because really, we can make it better or we can make it worse when we're in relationships. Self-soothing regularly, right? Part of why self-soothing is important to do it regularly is that it's so much easier to grab it when you need it if you're doing it regularly, right? And it means that you will have your window of tolerance can be greater if you are self-soothing regularly. We're bringing ourselves back to a state of homeostasis, right? We're back to a place of calm and equilibrium. And there's lots of ways we can get there. I'm going to give you a couple of my ideas. So one of my go-to self-soothing practices is taking a hot bath or a hot shower. For me, it's a bath. I love a bath. Ever since I was a kid, if I were sick, my mother could find me in the bathtub in the middle of the night. Like, the only thing that would make me feel better was a hot bath. And if baths aren't your thing, showers can do actually wonders to refresh and reset. There's something transformative for me about a tub, though. I can create a whole world, light a candle, put essential oil in the tub, and because I'm an empath, I'm always cleaning my energy. And so I have what's called witch's brew, which is a combination of things that I put in there, which I'll also include in the guide for you. So that goes with this episode. Just go to terricole.com/guide. Lights down, right? Or just a candle. If you know me, you know I never live with lights. I only have lights on when I'm filming for you guys. But generally speaking, I live kind of in the dark. So when I'm in the bathroom, the only light there is a candle. But there's something incredibly soothing about that. You can do a short guided meditation. Easy breezy. If you've been following me for a while, you know I have a dedicated daily meditation practice and have for over 2 decades. And I've created my own guided meditations for you. You can go to Insight Timer. I have a whole bunch of free stuff there, and it's a free app. You don't even have to buy it for the year. And you can access a bunch of free meditations from me. It's called Insight Timer. We'll include that in the guide as well. I don't listen to my own meditations because that's friggin' weird, but I love my teacher and my friend, David G., has the most beautiful voice. So, and he's on Insight Timer as well, which is how I got there. So anyway, you can look for him, and it's David J.I. That's it all together. That's his name, David G. He also has a wonderful community, which I'm a part of, and I love him very much. All right. Simple breathing exercises are super easy breezy ways to self-soothe. So when we're stressed, we have these physiological symptoms, as we've been talking about, that breathing exercises relieve. So there's lots of breathing apps out there. My friend Sam Skelly has a very popular breathing app that I love. And again, I'll give you all the links to these things in the guide. So you could just go to terricole.com/guide. There's something so beautiful about having someone guide you in a breathing exercise. And what I love about Sam Skelly's app is that they have long ones and short ones. So there's so many different, depending on how much time you have. And I feel the same way about Insight Timer with the meditations. You could literally search 2-minute meditations and there'd be a whole lot of them would come up. So again, you don't have to be a meditator, quote unquote. As I like to say, if you have an ass and you have a couch, you are a meditator, my friend. You already are one. Okay, so those are some self-soothing things that you can do. That's super powerful. But now moving into, what do we do when we're in relationships with other people? How can we help each other, right? It's called co-regulation. How can you do that? So what does it look like? So this looks like when someone else is calm, helps you find your own. So it's not about fixing what's happening. It's about being felt, right? When someone sits with you and simply witnesses your experience with compassion, or when a group takes a deep breath together, which we can do right now, before they dive into something heavy, right? It's when your partner says, I've got you, right? Without trying to make your feelings, your upset feelings, go away. But being with you is helpful. In my marriage to Vic, we have a rule, and it's funny, long before I knew anything really about co-regulation, because this has probably become more popular, I'd say in the last 10 or 15 years, and I've been a therapist for almost 30, we had an agreement in the marriage that if someone was upset, right, if someone was like losing their mind, if someone was cracking up, the other person cannot also crack up, right? The other person has to not jump on the fear train. The other person has to be normal. Whoever is losing it first gets to be the person who's losing it, and the other person has to be the stable one. In that moment, I did not know that we were co-regulating, but we were. I remember when we still had the apartment in New York City, and I came out of the bathroom and I was acting mad towards him about something. But I was really upset. I was confused about what I was upset about, even within myself. And I said something to him, and then he said, "What's wrong, Terri?" And I just started to cry. And he was like, "Oh, come here, come sit on my lap, right? Come sit with me." And I remember thinking about how blessed I felt to, I was sort of attacking him and kind of being a bit of a jerk, a little bit like with what I was saying. But as soon as he saw my face and saw that I was upset, he did not feel compelled to be defensive about what I was saying or mean about it. And then he was like, tell me what's going on. Let's talk about it. And that is also a form of co-regulating, that he was able to sort of maintain his cool, even for that moment when I was kind of being a jerk. I mean, I wasn't being like ridiculous, but I was sort of being blamey. That's co-regulation too. And so it's also important to practice co-regulation before you need it, which is understanding each other's activation points and triggers, understanding each other's history, right? There are things about each other that you guys know that it's important to keep in mind, especially if someone is dysregulated, that they have a reason to be. And so it's really approaching each other with compassion, but holding it together, even if the other person, when the other person is losing it. So you can also pick a calm moment and say, let's just breathe together. So let's just take 5 slow, deep breaths together and just breathe in sync with your partner, right? When stress hits later, breathe with me feels familiar and not weird. It's not something you start while somebody is dysregulated, because that's not the way it works. How about just pick a calm moment and take 5 minutes to just sit together silently, right? Just presence, because somebody's quiet presence, say to Vic, if I'm upset and if I need co-regulation, he'll say, how can I best support you? And I'll say, just lay behind me on the couch, right? So we might be watching something, but if he just lays behind me, puts his arms around me, I don't need to be fixed. I need his calm Pisces presence to make me feel stable, like I know this moment will pass. But him being calm lets me get to calm faster. So sitting silently together, whether you're holding each other or holding hands or not. Next one actually is holding hands on purpose, right? So it's sort of not just in passing. Co-regulation, if you're touching each other intentionally, there's something about that can be very calming. And I think I was sharing this in one of the other episodes, and I was just telling Vic this, and he didn't even know it, literally didn't know it. After my first cancer surgery many years ago, I was very sick. I didn't know. I'd never had any surgery, so I didn't know that I was allergic to anesthesia or had a response. And so I was just barfing my brains out. And keep in mind, I just had half my thyroid taken out, so I had my neck was all bandaged. I was in so much pain. It was literally right after having the surgery. And Vic comes in to the room, and I'm freezing because you have on this stupid gown that your back is totally open. As I'm leaning forward, the room is so fucking cold. And he just sat down and just put his big mitt of a hand that's always so warm. He's always so warm and not so hot. People complain about their husbands being hot. Not like that. He's just always the right temperature for me. He puts his big hand on my bare back. And I just remember being like, everything hurt less immediately. I felt not nauseous, immediate, like something just happened where I thought, wow, how powerful the power of a kind and compassionate touch is. And Sebastian Junger, who is a fantastic writer, just put out something about this, about the power of touch and how, as human beings, it's so incredibly important that we get that touch, that nurturing. And I remember when I was single for a period of time in New York, how I would go to get this cheap massage because I needed that physical contact, even if it wasn't someone who was a lover or a partner, but I just needed that human to human contact. There's something incredibly healing. And I didn't know then, but I was probably balancing my nervous system with that massage. So there's lots of different ways that we can bring ourselves back into balance. And I'm curious to see for you, like, what are regulation strategies that work for you? Are there things that you do in your life that actually help? And there's so many reasons why we get dysregulated and why we are sort of vulnerable to being dysregulated. And living in a world that's hard is one of them. So just know that if you are feeling dysregulated, you are super not alone. I hope that this episode does something for you, soothes you in some way, lets you know that if you are feeling this way, because I've been feeling this way since, I don't know, at least 6 months more, but that you're not alone and that we are in this together and that the only way through whatever it is that's happening that we're going through is together. So be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your neighbors. Be a decent global citizen. But first and foremost is self-soothe, co-regulate, and take care of you.